everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Connie with the Artisan Company. Yes, it is that time of year, the holiday season, starting now going into New Year's. And last year I did some sparkly things, and I will do that this year starting today. We'll do 2 or 3 weeks of sparkly fun stuff, and then we'll go back to something else. But trying to find some things that are really sparkly, and then some that are not so sparkly, but hey, they look holiday-ish. So today, let's get started on this mix-up of stuff right here. Okay, so I bought these red beads right here from BCV Glass. And I loved this company. Unbeknownst to me, they came from the Czech Republic, which I did not know that was going to happen. But anyway, BCV Glass, and I have a video of a revealing where I did BCV Glass, and so I'll put that in there so you can go straight to that video next if you would like. But anyway, these beads are pressed glass, and they're crystal luster ruby. So let's look at these little guys. Crystal luster ruby, and they're kind of a free-form, odd angled shape, and they've got just a shimmer of gold on them. And oh my goodness, they are stunning. The ruby color is really a ruby color. It's not the garnet red color that you see. It is actually looks like a ruby in color. And so I snatched these because I thought they were fantastic. They're a 14 by 11 size bead. So if you're going to try to kind of mimic this design right here, you're going to need a 14 by 11 size bead. However, you can do this concept with any size beads you want, but this is the one I'm doing. So anyway, these came from BCV Glass. You will need also some eye pins, and these are the ones with the little holes on the end right here. You'll need a bunch of eye pins. You'll need some bead caps, and these are gold. I decided to do this whole thing with gold accents instead of mixing the metals, although mixing metals would be fantastic. But these are 5mm bead caps. I got these at Fire Mountain. These are a 12mm jump ring, and I got these at Michael's stores, and you'll need several of these. And then this is a clasp. Actually, you're going to need 2 of these or something similar if you want to do what I'm going to show you. If you don't want to do what I'm going to show you, then you won't need this. You'll just need a jump ring of some kind. I forgot to see what size this was. It's a 20mm, and I got these at Michael's, and it looks just like a big old jump ring. It's pretty thick, but if you'll look, when you press it like this, it's actually a clasp. It opens up. I don't know if you can see that or not, but see how it opens up like that? So I'm going to use 2 of these, and I'm going to show you what we're going to use these for. But I got these at Michael's, and they come in gold and silver there. You'll need some kind of beautiful clasp, and I also got this at Michael's. It's a hammered, gold-colored, hammered S-clasp, and I've said this before. I know my clients like the hook and eye and the S-clasp because it's so much easier to work with, where the lobsters, unless they're really big or something like that, they're a little more difficult. But anyway, I think, yes, you're going to need some crimson crimp covers for the end, but I think this is it. There's a lot of moving parts to this thing. This is not a difficult necklace to do. It looks like it is, but it's really not. You just have to take your time doing it. It's just a lot of moving parts, and so just go slow. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I did was I figured out how many beads I had, and I had 40 of these little red puppies, which was great. That was more than what I thought I had. But anyway, I had 40 of these, and I divided them out, and I'm going to do 2 strands here. You can see 2 strands here, one longer than the other. And so I divided them out where I would have enough to finish the back of the necklace. So what I'm doing here with this first strand, I've got 4, 4, and 4. And this is the shorter strand right here. The longer strand, I mapped it out. I've got 3, 3, 5, 3, and 3. That's where I'm going with this. We'll see if it works. But anyway, okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to link all of these beads to each other. This section will be linked together. This section will be linked together. And this section will be linked together. And on the second strand, this section will be this one, this one, this one, and this one. And when I say linked together, I mean like this, where you're going to take your eye pins and you are literally going to link these little pieces of glass together. That's where we're going with this. But we're going to make them a little more decorative, okay? So first thing you're going to do is you're going to take, these little 2mm finishing beads. That was the one thing that was sitting here that I forgot to tell you. They're just a little tiny 1mm or 2mm or 3mm finishing bead is all you need. And finishing bead is my term that I use to designate that it's a completed end on the necklace. In other words, you don't just stop the necklace with a crimp and put the clasp on. You want to have a finished end. So I take the beads and I will put a single bead on the end before I put my crimp and crimp cover on. So it makes it where there's 2 beads on the end if you include your crimp. And then you add your clasp. And that way it looks like a finished piece of jewelry. Hang on, I'll go get one. Okay, so what I mean by that is this is a watermelon agate stone. I finished this one earlier today. Is this not just the most fun color? Oh my gosh. I got these stones at Stones and Silver is where I got these watermelon agate stones. I don't know if she has any left, but she does have some these bright, she calls them cotton candy colors of agates and other colors like that that are smaller beads. So you may want to go check that out, Stones and Silver. But when I say a finishing bead, you can see where the clasp is right here on the end. And if you look real close, here's the end of the stone. Here is my finishing bead right here. I did it in a copper because I didn't have a rose gold, but it's a light colored copper. So I put that next to the bead, and then I put on my crimp and my crimp cover, which makes this the last bead, the crimp and crimp cover. So this one would be considered my finishing bead, the big copper one. Then the crimp, then the clasp. So that's what I mean by that when I say a finishing bead. Okay, back to the task at hand. All right. Now, this part of the necklace is what's probably going to drive you crazy. It's probably going to drive you crazy because of all the looping. So if you have a looper that makes smaller loops, this is the time to use that puppy, okay? If not, you're going to do them by hand. Okay, so take your eye pin right here, put on the little finishing bead on the end. You're going to put on a bead cap because we want to bring the color out on these little guys right here. So I'll just start on the inside one first. It doesn't matter if you're doing the inside or the outside. These are 5mm. You could use a 4mm too with this size bead, and it's kind of a whoppy shape anyway. So 4 to 5mm is what's going to work best with this one. All right, so I'm putting another little tiny bead on. If I can get it. There, oops, there it is. All right, so it should look like that. So here's your eye down here, your little finishing bead here, the bead cap, the bead or stone itself, and then another bead cap right there, and another one of those little tiny beads. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to clip this off and make sure you leave enough space to make a good eye on this end, because you're going to be hooking things together, remember? All right. You can see my archaic tool here is marked. So I'm looking to see where I am cutting this piece of metal right here. And it's in the middle of that little second mark right there. So I'm going to clip it. And then I'm going to take my little trusty tool, which is also marked, so I can make sure that I wrap it in the same direction. I mean, cut it in the same direction. Sorry. Turning your little top down there where it's kind of at an angle. Then you use this little guy. And I'm going to use that mark right there because it's going to make a little bit rounder loop. And like I said, if you have a looper, now's the time to use it. Because it's going to take me a minute. Okay. All right. So there we go. That's the finished product right there. Okay. Now we're going to do one more, and we're going to hook those together. Okay, let me straighten out my pen. All right, we're going to take one of these little guys. My hands are so beat up, guys. It's like I have been working in the yard, and oh my goodness, it has really taken a toll on my hands. So if they look a little beat up today, they are. Sorry. But anyway. Thanks for the mail everybody's been sending me. That's been nice to get and to hear from you guys, and the questions you have about your projects and where to find products and that kind of thing. So I am excited you guys are biting some of this off to do. You know, and as always, these are ideas for you. You can duplicate it exactly if you would like, but they are definitely just ideas, and you can take any beads that you want to do and use those. You don't have to use the beads I use. So something similar. Okay, so you're going to take the one you just did, and you're going to hook it onto this one before you close it up. All right. Whoop, about dropped it. I've got it hooked on there. Now I'm just going to close the end of that little top up like that. Make sure they're closed good. Use a magnifying glass to look. All right, and there you go. There's your finished link right there of those two. And you can see the difference that the bead caps and the little beads make compared to this one. This one I was just showing the example, but this is actually going to be the product right here. So you can see the difference that the beads and bead caps make in how the overall looks versus this one. But if you don't want to use this, that is your prerogative. If you want it more plain like this, that's okay. It's a design choice. It's not a right or wrong. It's a design choice. And if you want plain, knock yourself out. Do it as plain as you can get it. If you want it a little more fancy, and the reason why I'm doing that is because it's the holidays, then you might want to add some more foo-foo to it. Okay? All right, so that's our first two that we did right there. All right, so what we're going to do to expedite time, I am going to go ahead and do this whole entire row and this whole entire row, and then we'll come back and look at these guys. Okay, so happy looping. I'll be back in a minute. All right. I'm going to suppose you had a looping good time doing this. Anyway, so we got all of our strands looped together. You can see here how they're doing. And what I did to expedite time is I went ahead and connected this last strand here. You can see there it is right there, all looped together. Isn't this fun? It's contemporary, but yet it has an edge of retro to it, and I love that. It's kind of a both hands, so you can go either way with it, but we've got this strand done. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, and I'll do one or two of these and then do the rest to expedite our time, because I know you guys are busy and I want to respect that. So anyway, so we're going to take our our 12 millimeter loops. Now, I will tell you this, hoops. If you're using a thick jump ring, like this one is heavy duty, heavy gauge jump ring, then you want to make sure that your loops on here are large enough to cover that size of that jump ring. So, in other words, on your eye pins, even though there's a loop there, if you're using a heavy gauge jump ring, I'll get it out in a minute, your eye on your eye pin may need to be adjusted. It may not be quite big enough to get this in there, so you may need to adjust that. But if you use smaller jump rings and not heavy gauge, then you won't have any issue. As a matter of fact, like I do with a lot of earrings to give it more weight and actually solidify the construction even better, if I have real thin jump rings, I may use 2 or 3 to connect things, which would be absolutely stunning as well with this. I just picked out the heavy gauge ones because of the size of the beads I was using. But if you want to use this same chunky type bead, medium sized chunky bead, you can still use thinner jump rings. Just use 2 or 3 to connect instead of the single. It'll have the same kind of effect, and it will be really, really cool and very detail-y. It has a lot in the details. Okay, so I'm going to open this heavy gauge jump ring here. And I'm not going to open it very far. I'm just trying to open it just enough that I can get this in there like this. And it's hooked over. Okay, you can see that it's hooked over right there. Then we're going to close it up and make sure when you close it up that the tops are together and even. You don't want one side further over than the other. They need to be uniform. Okay, there's one. Let's go to this next one. Open it up. I'm going to connect the bottom one and the next round on the bottom. And we're going to close it up. All right, and then I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to go and I'm going to take this ring, connect these 2 pieces right here, and then I'll come up and connect the last one. Okay, so we got the middle one done. Here it is. It's all connected with the jump rings. Now here's where the fun part comes in. You have this shorter strand right here, and you have this longer strand right here. So we're going to connect them with, remember the clasp at the beginning? This little jump ring. It looks like a jump ring, but it's actually a clasp. You push it in right there. I've already done one. I've connected it here. You can see it's connected right there. And then I'm going to add the next one. So I'm going to slide that on there, push it down. My hands are a little slick today. I put some lotion on. And my hands are a little slick. All right, so I got both of those on there like so. See, they're both connected on there. All right, so we're going to go to the other side. I'm going to connect these. I'm just pushing it on there like that. Just trying to get it started there. There it is. It's snapped on there. Okay. Snap that one in. Get in there, baby. Get in there. You're almost there. There it is. Okay, so now it looks like this. You've got the two rings up here that are actually clasps, and then you've got these two connected. Now, here's the cool thing about this. This is what I was going to tell you earlier. This is just a 2-strand right now. You can make it a 1-strand, a 3-strand, a 4-strand just by taking off a strand or adding a strand. So let's say I've got this, and later on I'm like going, you know what? Now that I've got this, I've worn it once or twice. I think I'm going to add another strand because I want it to be heavier. I want it to be heavier. So you can go back and you can get the same type of beads, a different type of bead, and do another strand that will go right in here in this middle part. And just connect it up here because this is fluid, so you don't have to undo and do. You just open the clasp, slide it off, and slide another one on, okay? So you could do that. If you just wanted this part of it, you just wanted this small part, take the longer one off. Let's say you just wanted the long one, like that. Take the short one off. So you have the versatility of actually making 3 necklaces out of this one. And I love that versatility. Love it. Let's say you want to use the shorty one here and you want to layer it with other necklaces that you have. Take the long one off, wear the shorty, and there you go. You got a single strand that you can layer with something else that you've already got available. So anyway, the use of this style of clasp like this gives you the versatility to make this necklace into 3 different styles. Don't you love that? I love that. I'm stoked about that. Okay, let's go to the last part. On the downhill slide, guys. Oh my gosh. I went ahead and did this side to expedite time and so you can see where we're headed. Okay, so what I did was this is where we left off right here. And then I added, this is the part that goes behind the neck. So what I did was, you have 2 options here. You can either do it exactly the way I did it, or you can do this same thing here where it's linked together with the eye pins. You can do it that way. Or if you're a good wire wrapper, you could do it with wire wrapping. I'm not a good wire wrapper, so I don't even go there. So I've done it several times, and it's just not my forte. But for those of you guys who are wire wrappers, kudos to you, because it is a total skill unto itself. I probably need to practice a whole lot more. But anyway, you could either finish this off with a wire wrap, or you could do it just the way we did it, linking it together with the eye pins. Or you can do it like this, where I just took a piece of beading wire, just like I would stringing a regular necklace, and finished off this end here. I did it that way because I thought maybe it might be a little sturdier that way, especially when people are interchanging and adding more strands. It's going to be heavier, so I thought I went this route. So that's the method to my madness, if you're wondering why. Okay, so what I did to finish this out was I had the rest of my beads, my ruby red beads, and then I still have my bead caps, that kind of thing like that. And then I added these are a 3.5 millimeter gold bead. Then that's what's in between here. And then this is a 6 millimeter finishing bead. Remember we talked about the finishing bead? That's this little guy right here. Well, that's that. Okay, so the connector down here is a crimp and a crimp cover, so it looks like a bead, and it's a 5 millimeter, so it's a little smaller than this one up here, but it connects and it's perfect. It doesn't matter. I'm doing something this chunky, I probably wouldn't use less than a 5mm just because of the weight factor, number one, and number two, the visual weight factor, because the visual weight is also important as well as the physical weight. So you don't want anything too small here connecting. You want it to all have that visual weight of chunky going up. Okay, let's get rocking on this last part. All right, I'm taking my 12mm jump ring here, my heavy gauge jump ring. And like I said, if you're using smaller, thinner jump rings, you may want to use 2 or 3. But I'm going to go ahead and slide it on here just like I did the other ones. And then we're going to proceed just like we were going to do a necklace finish off. So we're going to take our crimp, get that little guy out here, put it on the little piece of beading wire, hook it around the big heavy gauge jump ring, pull it through like so, and pull it down. So it should look like this. Hold on, about dropped it. I need just a little more that way. Okay, so I won't have so much. All right, so it should look like this. And remember, I always say this, when you do these little crimps right here, make sure that this, whatever it's connected to, can breathe. You don't want your crimps so down here tight on this piece right here that it can't move freely like that. You don't want it so tight that it's just stationary stuck. You want it to be able to move freely because it will give you some longevity to your necklace. So I will pull that down just a hair. I'm trying to make sure when I put my crimp on that it doesn't take up the space. I mean my crimp cover, that it doesn't take up the space. All right, so I'm going to crimp it. And remember, with a tube crimp, you're going to, or any other type of crimp like this, let me move that wire just a little bit. You've got to flatten and then fold. Ooh, I got him a little bit. Oh, there he goes. You pull him just a little bit. I don't want him to be too loosey-goosey. Flatten, which I did, and then fold. Like so. All right, so that's pretty tight. It's flattened and folded, if you can see that. I'm going to put our crimp cover on. Let me get my eyeballs down here. It looks like a little Pac-Man. And for a lot of you, maybe this is just old hat and you're going, oh, I know all that, I'll just fast forward. Well, that's fine, but I can't assume that everybody watching knows. So I'm doing this for everybody to see. Okay, and I'm closing that up very gently. Remember, don't close your crimp covers too fast, otherwise you might bite your wire. Just go very slow. Well, go at this angle. Well, don't be cantankerous on me now. There he goes. All right, you want to close it up really good where the seam is. And then you want to run your finger over it like that to make sure it's not rough. Because if it's rough, then that means you haven't gotten it closed good. All right. Okay. Next step, going to be easy. All right, piece of cake from here on out. You're going to take a bead cap, put it on, and this little excess wire right here, you'll run that through the bead cap as well. So look double. Then you're going to add your big chunky bead. Run it also through the excess wire, like so. So you have a little bit left out. Going to cover that all up. Then you're going to put on another bead cap. We're on the downhill slide. Ooh. All right, let me slide that extra wire in there. And you don't have to have too much of this wire in there, you know, just a little bit's fine. I usually do about a ½ inch or so. And the reason why is because you don't want to clip it too close to the crimp, because it may, if it gets tugged really hard, it might slide out, and you don't want that. Okay, you want the wire to have somewhere to go. All right, we're going to add one of the little 3.5 millimeter beads. Run it through that right there. Another bead cap, and then we're going to repeat the process to the end. Get that one in there. And everybody does things differently. I mean, everybody does their wire differently. You just have to figure out what works for you and you know, do that. Just because somebody says this is how you have to do this doesn't mean that that is how you have to do that. Okay. Think outside of the box when you're doing something, and think about how your brain works and how your hands work, and how you process things, and then go from there. There are some things that you have to do, like a crimp. You have to crimp it, flatten it, and fold it. That is a given. You have to do that or you'll lose it. But there are other things that are not have-tos. And so you just need to figure out as you're working what works for you. And then you just move right along with it and perfect it. Okay, so I am going to move on down and do the rest of these, and I'll get back. Okay, we are done with this project. I realized the video was getting too long, so I expedited it and went ahead and put on the clasp. Let me move my light here. So I'm polishing up my little beads. I'm taking my little cloth and getting my fingerprints off. Oh my goodness, y'all. This is so exciting. This is such a versatile necklace. It's just, oh my goodness, look at the fun. Oh, you can do a 1, 2, or 3 strand with this. You can do it double. You can add strands later if you want to. But these little guys right here, I got them at Michael's. You can also get them, these little guys right here, they are considered a, let me get in the screen. They are considered a clasp. Okay, they're just around and you just push it in. But I just think this is a great use for this clasp rather than behind the neck. But this little guy is the key to making this thing multi-strand or single strand. And because of the way we did the top here, let's say you want to add a different color up here, maybe a different even style of bead than what you got down here. You can take this little guy off and make another one of a different style. But fun for the holidays, fun for the holidays. We love it. I know this looks like on here a mix mash of stuff because there's so many beads, but I am stoked about this necklace. I hope you enjoyed this. The next one will be a little more sparkly. So if you got any inspiration or anything, please like and subscribe, comment. I do answer your comments. I enjoy talking to you guys. I have someone that emails me pretty regularly too, and we get in conversations about things. So yes, like, subscribe, comment. Love you guys. I will see you next week on the next Christmassy holiday necklace. Bye.